Johnson, and today I'm in North Andover, Massachusetts. We've come to Merrimack College. With me is Hugh Hinton. You're the organist here, and I'm going to have you tell me the name of this church again so that I can...
This is the Collegiate Church of Christ the Teacher.
I wouldn't have gotten that right on the first try. So we are here to see this instrument, which was just very recently installed here, correct?
Absolutely. This is the first month.
First month, so yeah, so the new is still here.
Yes, it's very new. I'm still learning my way around it. But really enjoying every minute of it. Sort of like Christmas for me.
I bet. Well, we say new, but it's got a few years on it. Tell me about this organ originally.
This is a 1907 organ made by Emmons Howard, who's a maker out in Westfield, Massachusetts. Okay. Westfield was a real center of organ building in the 19th century. William Johnson was out there first, established organ company. Emmons Howard actually worked for Johnson, and then also Steer and Turner.
Oh, really? Okay.
They also branched off from the Johnson firm. Howard worked for a while for them. Then he branched off, established his own firm.
Oh, okay.
And for the most part, making instruments in the New England area. All three firms, for the most part, making instruments in a traditional tracker style, such as this. You may have heard of Emmons Howard for his most well-known instrument, which was for the 1901 Pan American exhibition in Buffalo, right, yeah. Where President McKinley was assassinated.
To the sound of the organ.
To the sound of the organ playing. The contemporary reports say it was a movement from a Bach sonata being played while he was assassinated. What's really kind of interesting and fascinating is, for the most part, Emmons Howard made these tracker action instruments such as what we see here today, very much in the traditional 19th century style. That Buffalo instrument, however, was radically different. Really? He was trying to make the most modern instrument possible. It used tubular pneumatic action, which was a first for him. It was a large instrument. It was 4 manuals. This is a 2-manual instrument here, which is similar with most of his instruments. It was 4 manuals, enclosed swell and choir, crescendo pedal, sforzando pedal. It had 10 reeds. It had a great mixture. It had a swell cornet, and it had a celeste.
Really?
So he was really trying.
He was putting everything.
He was putting everything into that. Clearly, he was hoping he could get more business out of that. It didn't come to be. You would think perhaps he might have continued in that more modern style, but for whatever reason, he went back to a more traditional style. This instrument is from 1907. So after that, apparently, from what we can tell, that was perhaps the only non-tracker action instrument that he made.
That's interesting. Well, this is the first of his organs I've ever seen, except I was doing some research and I learned that he built one for a church that's a block from where I live. It was a neighborhood that was built in the late 19th century, so that would make sense. I've played that organ, though, and it's got somebody else's name on it, so I think maybe it was rebuilt, but now I'm going to have to go in and dig and see if there's some original pipework in there.
Well, that's what happened with most of his instruments. Most have been rebuilt or adapted into other instruments. That's what's really wonderful about this instrument, is it is really pretty much original condition.
Okay, well, how did you find this instrument and how did it end up here?
So I found this instrument actually through an alum of Merrimack College. 2019, a senior was graduating, Nikoshevsky. At graduation, I started talking with him and his parents. His father was a member of a church that was closing. Church, South Deerfield Congregational Church. Okay. They were closing. They said, "We have this organ. We don't know what to do with it. Do you have any idea where there might be somebody who would be interested in this organ?"
Oh.
And
raise your hand.
I did, but I thought it was really a long shot. Yeah. I was not hopeful because even though they were willing to donate the instrument, it still was going to take a good bit of work to get it in moving it and playing condition again. Fortunately, the college here, Merrimack College, was very supportive of the idea. The college was founded in 1947, and we just celebrated the 75th anniversary, and as part of that, this church, the Collegiate Church here, was renovated all the way through. And so the college thought this would be wonderful to bring this pipe organ in
Yeah.
as sort of a centerpiece of the renovation of the
Okay.
church. So there had never been a pipe organ here before. There had been a series of some small electronic instruments. It was built with some small chambers
Yeah.
on either side of the gallery where we are up here, but there were never organ pipes in there.
Okay. Well, it fits beautifully in the room, and it sounds wonderful in the room. This room was obviously designed with acoustics in mind, so it's been great to hear what little I've heard so far, but I'm ready to dig in and hear some more. Now, how many ranks do we have total?
So we just have 14 ranks.
Okay.
And it's really remarkable, I think, what you can achieve with 14 ranks, and certainly it's makes a sound that's full for the room and fills the room.
Okay.
As we start to see, there's a lot of 8-foot tone, 4 foot, some 4 foot, some 2 foot. This is not like the Buffalo instrument. There's no mixture. There's no original Celeste, although we have created a Celeste today. Is the one tonal alteration we've done. So aside from that, everything is tonally unaltered. This instrument was actually featured in the Oregon Historical Society convention in 2015.
Oh, in its original
In its
home?
original home out in South Deerfield. And so it was played at that time. 2020, I went out to the church to see the instrument. Only about half of the notes played at that point. I'm not sure how they made it through the 2015 convention unless it had really deteriorated over the past couple of years, which is certainly possible. But I could tell it was a beautiful sounding instrument and certainly worthy of being restored. And Andover Organ Company has restored it, as well as building beautiful new instruments. They really are one of the top firms for restoring instruments.
You've seen a number of their restoration jobs recently, and yeah, they do some
Yes.
amazing work, so I know this is going to be fantastic. All right, well, let's start over here on this side. Tell me what we have.
So we have our 8-foot open diapason, which is our largest principal, the foundation tone.
It's a big sound.
Really nice, full, and rich.
Now, are any of those speaking in the facade, or is this?
They
there
are.
some tubes,
So
yeah,
there
there's-
are about half of the facade pipes are speaking, and about half are dummy pipes.
Okay, so yeah, that's really right here in our face. But
It is, especially
we are
here.
right next
We
to it.
are right
but-
next to it.
But yeah, it's a big warm sound.
And it's not harsh. It really has that periods sound.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's exactly, it's not harsh. It's just warm and rich without being cloying.
Yeah.
On the other hand.
Okay.
Next, we have a very small dulciano, which was typical for the period.
Okay.
So
Nice clear sound.
Exactly. Again, more of something that you would use in chorus with other stops, I believe. Then we have our 8-foot melodia, which is our main melodic stop, as the name implies, you know, our singing flute stop.
Yeah, it's a big clear flute sound there. Okay.
Absolutely. Nice,
Lovely.
nice clarity, but warm at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And then,
We have our 4-foot octave.
okay. Okay. Also a big diapason sound. But I imagine with the 8-foot that you probably get a pretty clear chorus there.
Absolutely. Very supportive for congregational singing.
Indeed, I was just thinking that's probably enough to accompany a good crowd in here.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the church this came from was actually a smaller church.
Oh, really?
Than here. It was a Greek revival, very traditional New England style church, very dry acoustic, which was commonly the case. So it needed to have enough oomph,
Electric kick,
to fill that dry acoustic. This is a larger space here. One of our concerns or questions was, would this generate enough tone? And I think the answer is absolutely.
Good. All right, we still have a couple more stops here.
This is our 4-foot flute, the flute d'amour, the flute of love, a popular name from the time.
Capped flute there? Is that?
I'm not sure. We'd
Okay,
have
we'll
to
check it. It
ask,
sounds like it, but
ask Matthew about that.
Indeed,
The Andover
but I
folks.
imagine with the melodia would probably be just a lovely little chorus. There.
Absolutely. It's a little bit of a clearer sound than you might expect, even from the name, certainly. Yeah. But here it is with the melodia.
It adds some clarity, but that 8-foot flute is still so big that it's most of the mix there.
Yes.
But it does. Yeah. Okay.
And then if you add the octave in.
Gives the 4-foot a little more of a fighting chance.
Exactly. Obviously, that's not for lyrical playing,
yeah.
but and actually you bring the dulciana in, and it makes a nice combination.
Expected the dulciana to be big enough to really compete with those, but it does add enough brightness.
It just adds a little bit of sizzle.
A little bit.
It adds a little color. It's really something, because you wouldn't I had the same thought. You would not think the dulciana would be audible, but it really it's there. And again, this is really designed as a chorus instrument, in my opinion, and it works beautifully when you just pull out a couple. More stops.
Things meant to blend together.
Meant to blend, right? Exactly.
Well, we have one more stop, and it actually goes with the principal chorus. We have a 2-foot super octave.
Right, and so just by itself,
or that big, thick diapason tone,
but still very clear.
Yeah, indeed, because it's bright enough. So
it is quite bright. So then if we have our principal chorus.
big tone, but not muddy. So
Yes.
Okay.
And then if you add in the melodia to just warmth it up a tiny bit.
Okay. Just gives it a little more
Romantic,
step.
a little bit more romantic color to
Yeah,
it.
definitely. Okay. Well, that's all of our great stops. So let's go over and talk about the swell now for a bit.
Absolutely.
You'll have to tell me what we have over there in the swell.
So on the swell, we start with an open diapason 8-foot, a smaller scale than the open diapason on the grade.
Okay.
So this is the swell open diapason. Definitely has a little bit of a stringier sound to it.
Thinner scale, yeah.
It's not called a violin diapason, but it might be headed
It's
a
getting
little
close,
bit
yeah.
in that direction. And just to contrast a little, this is the great diapason and the swell.
Yeah, okay.
So quite a contrast of color and timbre. Then we have a stop diapason.
Okay, nice clear sound in there too. But again, a little more reserved. Of course, it's
Absolutely.
back in the back of the organ and kind of going over our heads, so it may be a little bigger downstairs, but it's definitely not as big as this flute.
Right, but designed as accompanimental. So if you have them together,
I see. Okay, I wouldn't have thought of that immediately to be able to stand up to that, but it does because it is such a big, clear flute sound. Okay.
and then we have our 8-foot string, the solicional, which is quite stringy.
Yeah, definitely. Quite a contrast to all these darker colors over here to have that thin cutting edge. So, okay. Very nice.
Absolutely. And in the chorus, it really adds.
I was going to say, I
that
imagine
sizzle.
blending that then with
Blended,
those
yes.
darker stops.
It really blends beautifully.
Okay. Well, we'll listen to some of that. But let's keep going there. Now, you said you had the Celeste was your only alteration.
Yes, so we have a stop labeled, the Aeolian here,
Okay.
which, as you know, is the softest 8-foot stop. We thought in a church of this size, it would not really carry and it would have very limited use.
Okay.
So we decided to change that into a Celeste. We did not rescale it. It is still the Aeolian pipes. It's just tuned a little bit sharp.
Okay.
So it's
Not as much of a tonal change as a tuning
Is
change.
that tuning? So
yeah, it
it's
could be
reversible.
put back. All right.
And aside from that, everything else is tonally unaltered. The one change we did do was we did raise the pitch because it was actually a 430.
Oh, wow.
Kind of amazing that in 1907 they
Yeah.
still were building an instrument at 430. If it was 435, 436, we might have kept
Yeah, that's
it.
pretty low. That's-
Pretty low for trumpet players and for instrumentalists who might want to play with it. Singers, of course, would be happy there for the most part.
Yeah, maybe.
But in any case, we did raise the pitch throughout the instrument, so that ever so slightly changed the scale.
Oh, true.
Changed the scale ever so slightly. I think it's probably an inaudible change. But aside from that, everything else is totally unaltered except for this, which
Well,
could be reversed.
Let me hear the Aeolian by itself first, even in its sharpened state.
Sure.
definitely soft. I think softer than the traffic outside
Yes.
on a day like today. But it's got a lot of edge to it and a lot of brightness. So I imagine it stands up to that solutional pretty well.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, that works. All right. What's next?
We have our 4-foot flute, harmonique, it's called.
Okay. Yeah, that's lovely.
Really is, isn't it?
It's-
Yes.
I think it's my favorite flute so far, and they've all been nice, and that one's really nice.
And then we have a 4-foot violin,
Oh, okay.
which today you might not expect an organ of this size, but it was commonly found
Yeah.
from these New England makers at the time.
Yeah, nice cutting edge like the solutional.
Absolutely. So we do have a 2-foot flageolet.
Mm-hmm. The thin flute sound there.
Yeah, very charming.
Yeah.
A little bit fife-like.
Well, let's hear it with
Let's
the 8 and 4 flutes and hear that whole chorus.
Absolutely. So they're different, and then we do have an oboe still to go.
Okay.
But absolutely, let's hear a little bit of. So the different choruses. This is our kind of pure flute chorus with the stop diapason, and then the flute 8 and the flute 4 and 2.
That's what I was curious about. Even with that bright with that bright flageolet and the harmonics of the harmonic flute, it still has a lot of foundation under there, but it's clear and bright at the same time. So
It's a beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful balance. I think it's really beautifully judged. Here's just the 8 and 4.
yeah, lovely.
And then you can also contrast that by bringing in the open diapason.
No.
Here it is just with the flute 4.
Even when you had on just the 8 and 4 foot flutes with the violina, if I hadn't have seen what you did there, I would have thought you had the 2 foot still on because it was that much brightness. 2 foot's a little bit brighter still, but it has that cutting edge that just makes all those upper colors come out. So
Absolutely.
it's amazing.
In this organ, the swell is really the color
Yeah.
manual.
All right.
I mean, the grade is wonderful, but the swell is where we get the color. And speaking of color,
We got one more in there.
we have the one reed, which is oboe with bassoon.
Okay. It's a lovely color.
Beautiful, beautiful tone.
How does it sound down at the bottom? I want to hear the. Keeps that thin edge all the way down.
It does sound like a bassoon at the bottom.
It does, yeah. So, and I imagine combining that then with flutes or diapason are going to give you a lovely sound. Works really well. And I mean, I'm just imagining all the combinations. Probably even the violina or the 4 foot flute can add some more brightness to the oboe and give you a completely different character.
Absolutely. So this is just the 4 foot violin and the oboe.
Yeah,
So
it's
a
a
little
completely
bit
different
of
sound.
It really is absolutely. And this is the 4 foot flute. And certainly, it's a wonderful chorus reed to bring it in with with the full. I mean, even here's the full chorus.
Yeah, I can still hear that oboe singing away in there. It really blends in and adds some.
And you hear the string.
Yeah,
Yes,
you can
absolutely.
hear all
You
of
can certainly hear the string. Absolutely, and it makes a really wonderful period sound.
Yeah, definitely. You have a tremolo in this division as well. Does that just affect the swell?
We do.
It's a little noisy.
A little noisy.
All right.
Andover is actually going to come back and make a box
Okay.
to try to quiet it down. It's actually very surprising. Down on the low in the
Yeah.
assembly, you hardly hear it.
Okay, well, that's where our microphones are. So maybe, although our microphones here are probably picking it up too. So
Yeah.
I imagine you
So
can hear
you hardly hear it down there. It's amazing.
it. Huh. Very effective, though. All right. And we do have a pedal stop, correct? Just one?
We do just a 16-foot burden, which is relatively on the full side, which you would hope for, with it being the only pedal without a 16-foot principal.
Yeah, that's all you needed in 1907 for an organ this size. Full organ or your soft stuff, one 16-foot would do it.
Yes, absolutely. But this one 16-foot burden really does the job here. We have great to pedal, we have swell to pedal, so obviously we couple down for the rest of the pedal. Tracker action all the way through. The pedal action is really wonderful.
Oh, really?
It's really responsive. It's been refinished. If you can see, the wood is, in impeccable condition. Everything has been refinished. Hasn't looked this good in 100 years. So, but the pedal action is really wonderful. We got a flat pedal board here, so for some folks that would be an adjustment.
And it's just 30 notes.
So that limits a few things, but you can take things down. You
Sure.
can
Oh, yeah.
obviously you work with that as you have to. couple of the other things, there is not a full combination action, but there is a great organ forte here,
Okay.
which
This brings on your.
brings on everything.
Indeed.
And then we have a great organ piano, which leaves on just the melodia and the dulciana.
I imagine those are handy.
Absolutely. And just a couple of other interesting things to point out here. Originally, this was hand pumped with bellows.
Of course.
This has not been fully restored, but this was a dial that was indicating the wind pressure.
So you knew if you were running low and
You
needed
knew
to
if you were running
wake
low.
up the pumper.
And so right here, we have the bellows alarm button. You pull that out to wake up the pumper.
Very nice.
The organ has a simple layout. The great Winchester's in the front, the swell Winchester's in the back. The pedal is chromatic chest. You have the low 12 pipes of the pedal, the bass pipes on the bass side, and then the remaining pipes, the treble, on the treble side here. And you can see where some of the pumper boys left their names. If you come in here, you can get a peek at the pipework up above. Now, if you look down below, what we did was we replaced all of the wooden trackers with new ones. They were old. All of the interior of the organ was dirty. Also, it was moldy because it was in a church that was closed for several years in the Connecticut River Valley, which is a humid environment. So we had to clean everything down, disinfect it, and then we made all new wooden trackers with linen hooked ends on the front, and then new wire ends at the back. So it will last another 100 years. The reservoir is cleaned. There's the weights. There is a new quiet blower at the back. And yeah. These are all the, with the exception of the trackers, all the mechanical parts are original. The other thing we added was a ladder here to make it easier to get up to the grate. Prior to that, you had to find a ladder someplace.
This is the hand pumping mechanism, the original bellows. The reservoir is in the front and the actual pumping mechanism is in the back. These wooden pieces in the back somehow fit together to make the actual pump.
Hugh, thank you for demonstrating the Emmons Howard organ. Now living here at Merrimack College, I'm so glad it found a new home here, where it will hopefully live for another 100 years, maybe even longer. So this is just a fantastic thing to see and hear. So the organ's just been put in. Do you have any upcoming events people can know about?
Well, The organ is mainly going to be used for services, which is, I'm sure what its original intent was, but we will have an organ dedication concert coming up in the fall.
Okay.
And we hope to maybe establish concerts more often on it.
Well, we'll put a link for the college website down in the description, and hopefully people can find you. And if they're in the area, we'll keep an eye on it and come hear this instrument. But thank you again. This has been great to see this. Well, if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up down below. And remember to subscribe to our channel because we have more videos coming out. Until those videos are out, though, I'm Brent Johnson. Thank you for watching.